The warrior vocation is a being of raw might, their path paved by the corpses left in their wake. At first, it'll just be a pack of goblins, then a griffin, but before long, they'll be standing over the carcasses of drakes. Warriors typically assume the role of tank, drawing enemy aggro and taking damage on behalf of their party. But our warrior does not share the heat of a campfire with his companions, he travels alone and is stronger for it. In this video, I will show you how to efficiently create the most powerful solo warrior build, all the way from level 1 up until the credits start rolling. By then, you'll have the strongest equipment, augments, and skills, reaching the height of your power. This is not me trying to dictate how you play the game, but simply showing off what I've learned during my time with Dragon's Dogma 2. My hope is that you may learn something that helps improve your personal experience with the game. During this playthrough, I will not use any pawns, nor will I be reviving myself with wake stones or healing items. This is the journey of an optimized solo warrior.
Forge in my fire, the next link in the endless chain.
When creating your character, you can basically do whatever you want. If you still want a clear guideline, try making someone on the taller side. This is because your weapon scales with your character height, increasing its hitbox size. Longer limbs also give you greater reach as well. The bigger the better when making a warrior character, especially since we'll be playing solo and will want as much carry weight as possible. While race doesn't matter too much, Beastren are superior to humans in very minor ways. There are certain mechanics that human characters can't access unless they have a Beastren mask. By playing a Beastren, you can ignore this mechanic. Besides, a giant lion man in plate armor wielding a greatsword is objectively cool. They also have the cutest drenched animation. After creating your character, you now have to pick a starter vocation. As you can see, warrior is not a starter vocation. We'll have to unlock it later on. For now, I strongly recommend picking mage. We need the augment Apotropasm once we hit rank 2. The prologue will go as per usual: start your slave labor shift, get attacked by Medusa, pick up your weapon and sprint backwards to skip the encounter. Once you escape from the mines, you'll crash land in northern Vermund. Feel free to ignore Justin with 2 N's and farm these goblins for discipline. You'll very soon reach the Border Watch, where we're tasked with creating our pawn. Since this is a solo run, just pick a default preset and throw them into this conveniently placed body of water. While there are Seeker's tokens you can collect in this area, I strongly advise you to not pick up any tokens until you reach Vernworth. It will save you a lot of time later on, trust me. Once you start heading out, you'll get the quest New Recruit. I recommend doing this right away. Feel free to do the other quests in the Border Watch while you're here, but since this playthrough intends to be efficient and not completionist, you will only see me do quests that are important to our progression and build. Start burning the goblins right outside the gates, and you'll very quickly hit rank 2 in mage.
Kill yourself!
Go back to the Vocation Guild and buy the Apotropasm augment. This boosts your magic defense by 30%, which is insane for how easily you can get it. Now go ahead and swap over to Fighter. Since we can't play Warrior until a fair bit later, we'll farm Discipline for Fighter in the meantime. I head back out and rescue Ocado while also killing everything that moves to help rank up Fighter. This vocation has 2 very useful augments for Warrior: Metal at rank 2 and Thew at rank 6. Metal is the physical defense version of Apotropasm, while Thew boosts your carry weight by 10 kilograms. Since we're playing solo and plan to use a vocation that wields very heavy equipment, Thew is an excellent quality of life augment. Because of how carry weight works in Dragon's Dogma games, where you move slower the more you carry, increasing your carrying capacity also indirectly serves as a movement speed buff, in addition to letting you hoard more items without depositing at a rest point. Right now, you have 2 choices. Get Fighter up to rank 2 just for metal, and then swap to Warrior as soon as you unlock it. Or, you can play Fighter for a while longer to hit rank 6 and unlock Thew. It's entirely up to you, but I do recommend getting to rank 6, and that is what I ended up choosing in this playthrough. You can expect to see me play Fighter until we reach the second chapter of the video. After rescuing Ocado, we've now reached Melve and entered a scripted sequence with the dragon. You can skip it by running backwards off this cliff. Your next task should be getting 8,000 gold, so you can buy the Ring of Resolution from this wandering merchant. With the gold you got from completing New Recruit, this shouldn't be an issue. Talk to Lennart from the main quest, then complete Nesting Troubles. It's very easy, very quick and very useful for helping us reach 8,000 gold. If Gregor starts bothering you, tell him to shove off, yeah? You can also do Medicament Predicament for a bit of pocket change before looting everything in town to sell. You can find gold bags in houses and also these spell tomes, but don't sell them. As a warrior, these spell tomes are your friend. You'll soon reach 8,000 gold and can buy the Ring of Resolution from the merchant. This boosts your knockdown resistance by 100, which we'll be using until we get better equipment. Once we get tankier, we'll replace it with 2 Rings of Vehemence, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. With your new ring, approach this one guy, I forgot his name, but he starts the quest Brothers Brave and Timid. In my efficient playthroughs, I always skip this quest, but as a soon-to-be warrior player, we actually have a use for it. Follow the good sir into the woods until you reach this campsite. Now take the tent and rest until night. As you go up the path on your right, you'll see a garden of Moonclow flowers. Up here is Baron's tent, and this is where he hangs out after his shift at work. Baron is the warrior Meister, and obviously we want to be very good friends with him. He'll give you the quest Claw Them Into Shape, in which he asks you to find a new recruit and 3 weapons for his soldiers. All you need to do for now is accept the quest. We'll continue it once we get to Vernworth. Now you can go back to Brothers Brave and Timid, killing the wolves up the path. If ghosts start spawning, use those spell tomes from earlier to deal with them. Your Ring of Resolution should help a lot with combating the wolves and their high knockdown damage. Once you've rescued the brother, you can go back to Melve to complete the quest. The reason I decided to do this quest at all is because by heading to the quest location, you'll pass by Baron's camp along the way, letting you get started on an essential warrior quest for later and farm discipline points from enemies while you're there. The golden XP gained from completing the brothers quest doesn't hurt either. When playing Dragon's Dogma games efficiently, my goal is to minimize backtracking as much as possible while getting the most out of everything we do. You're sure to be rank 2 or even 3 in Fighter by now, so go ahead and purchase the Metal Augment from the Vocation Guild, then meet up with Gregor so he can escort you to Vernworth. This is yet another good opportunity to farm discipline, so be sure to kill anything that moves. We want to hit rank 6 in Fighter as quickly as possible so we can start playing Warrior sooner rather than later. There's also some pretty decent stuff to loot along this path which you can sell. Once you reach the Cyclops encounter, break this down with a rock, and if that doesn't instantly kill it, it won't take long to finish it off. You can now board the ox cart with the soldiers and make your way to Vernworth. Welcome to Vernworth. We have a lot to get done here, so let's get started. First off, loot the city very thoroughly for fairy stones and other valuables. Once you're done, make sure you've collected 5 Seeker's tokens. You can find one in the fountain, and this should be your first token if you heeded my advice from earlier. The next tokens are on top of the Pawn Guild building, in the Noble Quarters fountain, on top of this house, and in the sewers connecting to that same house. Hand these 5 tokens into the Vocation Guild for the Ring of Vehemence. It boosts your knockdown damage by 100 and is basically the best ring in the game for a majority of builds. Do not forget to activate the Vernworth Port Crystal, by the way. I've forgotten a couple of times in past playthroughs and it always sucks. Behind the tavern you can find Mildred and she'll give you a free house for 7 days. Once those days are up, you can buy it off her for 20,000 gold. You can tell this game is set in a fantasy world because affordable housing exists. While exploring, this NPC probably approached you as you passed the Pawn Guild. He really unsettles me because he looks basically identical to my younger cousin. Anyway, he's part of the quest Claw Them Into Shape. Just by talking to him, you've gotten Baron a new recruit. All that remains now is to go to the weapon shop and buy 3 of the cheapest swords. You could have also gotten these at the Border Watch earlier, I just forgot to. Claw Them Into Shape is sorted for now. Let's get started on the main quest. Brant is the one who supplies you with your main quest starting out, but only during the night. You can easily rest at a bench to pass time, then pick him up and place him in the preferred meeting spot to get him talking. Accept literally every quest you see, just add them to your log and we'll get started on them soon. For now, I head to Albert's house to steal his beggar's garb. His door will be open during the night, letting you walk in and out easily. Nearby are the slums, so we can talk to Kendrick and give him 2 food items to activate his quest, the Heel of History. Even though it's a side quest, it's required for main story progression. You can find 3 children you have to speak to in the general area. While we're here, I give the beggar's garb to this Beastron lady. There's 2 reasons I chose to give the garb to her instead of Albert's wife. First off, I was already in the slums and didn't feel like walking to the Noble Quarter to speak to Albert's wife. Secondly, she will kill Albert while his wife will not. Existing in a world without Albert is a far more pleasant outcome. Now we just have to wait a few days for that quest to sort itself out. You can then return to Kendrick for Heel of History to finish it off. There's lots of spell tomes in these ruins, and remember that spell tomes are your friend. With Heel of History complete, let's continue with the main quest. For Deesa's plot, I run straight into the castle side entrance and enter the office for the Torn Note. You do not need to worry about disguises or anything, by the way, don't waste your time on them. Escape through the window after Sven finishes his yapping, then head towards the jail tower for Caged Magistrate. Again, don't bother with a disguise. You'll find Walder in the first cell on the right. He'll agree to leave with you to go to those ruins you found in Heel of History after you take off your shirt. Pick him up and gently escort him out of the prison. That's 2 main quests complete now. You can return to Bran to hand them in. He'll ask you to give back the jail key he gave you for Caged Magistrate. Feel free to create a forgery of it at the scrap shop in the Checkpoint Rest Town if you want to. It will let you break out of jail an infinite amount of times. I couldn't be bothered to do that, so I simply handed it in. You can automatically get the next quest, the Stolen Throne, but I did make a small mistake here. I recommend resting for at least a day to make sure Bran triggers the other main quest options. Since I didn't rest, I wasn't able to accept those quests and had to backtrack later on. For the Stolen Throne, you have to head into the Masquerade Hall. Confirm that there's a masquerade going on with the guard out front, then run straight in if there is. You don't need to bother with a mask, just run right through and go through this door. Head into the Rose Chateau to meet Wilhelmina, mogging the camera while you're there. You can then report back to Brant about your findings. Some random dude will start stalking you afterwards. If you're playing a Beastren, let him go. Do not kill him because you get more money for sparing him. If you're a human, you can also let him go if you don't intend on crossing the Batal border legally anyway, otherwise you'll need a Beastren Master pass through until you get the residence permit. My next destination was Melv, and I got a quest to deliver a letter to Lennart, right by the ox cart. I took the cart to Melv, and a lesser dragon starts attacking the town. This will happen for you as well. Run up this tower and push the ballista until it's around here, then press the lower button 5 times on the lever. Start charging up the bolt but don't fire it. Wait until the dragon jumps into the air, then shoot it. You want to wait until he's flying because the bolt will knock him down, giving you time to charge the next one before he can fly away. Fire a second bolt once you've lined up your shot, and this will kill the dragon. You'll get the Mystic Spearhand and possibly even Fighter Meister skills from doing this. Feel free to sell these if you wish, along with the Duo Spear the dragon dropped. Its corpse will also give you 10 Worm's Life crystals, which you can hold on to for later. Hand the letter to Lennart, then make your way back to Baron's camp. Let him know about the new recruit, and give him the 3 crappy swords you purchased. Your new boyfriend will challenge you to a duel, but Fighter can hard counter Warrior, so no problem there. Follow Baron and his squad to their destination, and this will wrap up the first part of the quest. Since we're here, let's finish the entire thing. Rest for about 3 days, then head back to Baron's tent. It'll suddenly be attacked by a Cyclops, but the slope will give you a big advantage against it. Finish it off, then rest for another few days. Once you return, he'll give you a great sword called Life Taker, but no Warrior Meister skill. That's not a problem, he'll give it to us later. Time to teleport to Vernworth. I forgot to do this in my playthrough, but make sure you pick up the Nameless Village main quest from Brant. That way, as you're completing monster culling, you can take a very quick detour to the Nameless Village and finish the quest line there. By this point, I was around rank 5 in Fighter, since I made sure to kill everything I saw. When completing monster culling, I like to defeat the enemies in Eastern Vermund first, because you can also do the Nameless Village, which is very close by. Completing the Nameless Village will give you the Thief Meister skills and some equipment which you can choose to sell if you wish. During these quests, you'll naturally be killing enemies, getting discipline points along the way. For efficiency's sake, I recommend focusing on groups of small enemies rather than hunting large monsters. As you can see here, a single goblin gave me about 20 discipline, while this Cyclops gave around 120. Killing 6 goblins is the equivalent of 1 Cyclops, and takes way less time. In addition, this hobgoblin here gives around 60 discipline, so killing 2 of them is equivalent to 1 Cyclops. Since my loss gauge was kinda low, I walked back to the city to rest and pick up the next main quest from Brant, an unsettling encounter. This is yet another sneak into the castle and pick up the plot relevant thing, except this time we get a little smooch for doing so. Since these quests are easy and give good rewards, I like blasting through them early in every playthrough. Now it's time to head to Trevor Mine. Not only do we need to go here to finish up monster culling, but we can find a greatsword and archstaff to finally unlock warrior and sorcerer. We've now hit rank 6 in fighter, the exact rank we need. I'm actually quite proud my routing worked perfectly and lined up like this. If you aren't rank 6 yourself yet, then it's probably because you weren't murderous enough. Feel free to head to Heart Village to finish up monster culling and get more discipline points if you need to. For now, I ferrystone back to Vernworth. At the Vocation Guild, we have to hand in a greatsword to unlock warrior. And yes, it has to be a greatsword, hammers don't work. Thankfully, we can hand in any greatsword, letting you unlock warrior at any time just by purchasing one from, let's say, the Checkpoint Rest Town, or finding one in a chest, or even the life taker Baron gave us after finishing his questline. So this is an option if you want to unlock warrior early and skip leveling fighter to rank 6. There's just something to take into consideration. If you hand in a greatsword, you actually lose that weapon and are given a weak two-hander instead, so don't give anything good to this guy. I give him the two-hander and Grievous Horns I picked up from Trevor Mine instead, and finally swap to warrior. Playing warrior doesn't feel great until you rank up a few times, but it won't take long to get our essential core skills. The life taker is my best greatsword, so I equip it and head off to Harv Village. I don't know why that zombie deals so much damage, but I suppose that was the first death of the run. Once in Harv, the Saurians might be a little difficult since we aren't that strong right now, so I recommend making use of your sprint basic attack. You'll do a 360 spin attack that's fast and deals high knockdown damage. It's great when you need to get out of a tight spot. Saurians are quite weak to frost, and I'm able to clear the cave and finish the monster culling main quest with a well-placed spell tome. Once you're back in Vernworth, turn in your quest to Brant and move on to the coronation scene. This will trigger the second half of the main quest, giving us a Port Crystal and border pass to Batal. Before heading off anywhere, I go to Vernworth Castle and speak to Roman. He'll give you the Dulled Regalia sword, starting the quest Dulled Steel Cold Forge. We'll continue this quest once we get to Batal. After that, I take an ox cart to the checkpoint rest town. More experienced players may be tempted to visit the Sphinx, since she isn't too far away, but I ask that you refrain from doing so. We'll come back for her later. If you've gotten some rank ups, now's a good time to purchase a few skills. I strongly recommend the Chain of Blows core skill and the Goring Lunge active skill if you have them available. There's also a short side quest here called Hunt for the Jadeite Orb, and you should definitely do it. This Beastren will approach you by the front gates, asking you to find the Jadeite Orb. Head over to the scrap shop and you can purchase the orb directly from it. Now use the forgery system to create a duplicate. This guy will ask for the orb too, so go ahead and give him the genuine copy, then give the fake one to the Beastren from earlier. You'll get some gold, a ring to sell, and an elite tent from spending about 2 minutes completing this quest. Elite tents are the strongest camping kits in the game, as they have the lowest carry weight while also reducing the likelihood you'll get ambushed camping and are unlikely to be destroyed on the rare occasion you do get ambushed. Now this next step is going to sound really weird, but I recommend depositing your border pass into storage and finding a nobleman's ox cart. They typically spawn on the path leading to the rest town in the mornings, so hop on and wait for it to walk through the border. You'll get a cutscene outside the gates, which will kick you out of the cart, so just quickly pop back in once it's over. Continue riding the cart until you're away from the settlement. I know this whole thing doesn't make sense, but you need to trust me, it's worth it. Once you are passing this house, you'll see your boyfriend nearby. Make sure there are no guards around and exit the cart. Baron moves to his home across the border after you finish his quest, and by meeting him again, he'll give you the Warrior Meister skill from all the way over there. If he doesn't give it to you, it means his affinity isn't high enough, so give him a heartfelt pendant if you have one, or simply offer up something like gold ore. If you still can't get the Meister skill from him, don't worry, there's a guaranteed solution later on. With this, we've unlocked the Meister skill, Arc of Might, but we won't be using it until we're much stronger. Once that's done, head back up the path towards the settlement and find the guards. They will very gently arrest you for trespassing, which teleports you all the way to the Batal jail. By not handing in our border pass, we've branded ourselves as a criminal, causing the guards to teleport us to the jail. Look at this vase to your left. Smash it and you'll find a jail key. You can use it to escape the prison and none of the guards will react. All your items will return once you exit the jail, and now we've wound up in the city of Batal. By going to jail, you've skipped about an hour's walk through the desert to reach the city, and if you've been responsibly saving and selling items, you should have quite a lot of gold on you. First off, I spend 30k on a house to avoid inn fees, then drop an embarrassing amount on some new drip. Enemies in Batal are much higher level than Vernworth, and you'll want some decent armor. As a warrior, you will be taking damage, so I recommend getting some strong armor now, and we'll sort out our weapons shortly. Next up, I find Sarah and Barocca and give them the Dulled Regalia sword. She wants us to collect 15 glimmer coal for her, so we'll do that later. For For now, we can speak to Sermonella as the main quest decrees, and she'll give us a residency permit. From this point on, I recommend doing your own exploration, killing enemies and farming discipline. Batal enemies like knackers and red wolves give around double the discipline points of goblins and other creatures in Vermund. You'll want to focus on groups of smaller enemies like you were before, and Batal has plenty of those. It'll be almost twice as fast ranking up warrior compared to when we were playing fighter. If you're finding combat hard right now, that's perfectly normal. It won't last long and we'll be getting a huge power spike soon. While exploring, I wound up at the Trickster Meister, so I placed down the port crystal Brant gave us, since this is a main quest location. Now let's get our weapons sorted. There's a cave called Dark Beast Den, and it contains the strongest hammer in the game. Naturally, we want it. Once you're outside the cave, get ready and make a mad dash for the back. There'll be a chest containing the hammer Cyclopean Thunder, but you'll have definitely woken up the serpents inside. These are late game enemies and I do not recommend fighting them. I hope you brought Goring Lunge, because we'll be using it to escape the serpents. With stamina curatives you can sustain Goring Lunge and quickly make distance, earning you an amazing hammer and only some mild trauma. Cyclopean Thunder is the best hammer in the game for a few reasons. First off, its strength and magic stat is only slightly lower than Cinderspine, but it has significantly higher knockdown damage. It's also permanently enchanted with lightning, which causes stun. Do you know what else causes stun? Blunt weapons, like hammers. By stacking these two effects, we've got a hammer that can easily stun hordes of enemies and even large monsters. Stun is amazing for solo characters since it helps with survivability by preventing enemies from attacking us and provides damage windows to capitalize on. With my new hammer, I go into Digger's Ruin to find the Glimmercoal Sara requested. There are two types of ore in this cave. The real Glimmercoal has a green glow, while the fake Glimmercoal doesn't. If you see Examine over a gathering spot, it means the coal is fake, but if you see Gather, it's a real coal and you should collect it. But the easiest way to tell the difference is to unequip your lantern and enchanted weapons, as it reveals the glow of the Glimmercoal. You need to collect 15 coal, but Sara accepts up to a maximum of 25 if you want to simp for her. She isn't gonna fuck you, bro. You can then head back to Batal to hand in the coal, or get the last two items we need. In the Tomb of Renu Labar, you can find the Ring of Recompense in this chest. This ring increases your strength scaling attacks by 100% when your health is below 25%. You can only get one copy of this ring per playthrough however, and we would need to enter New Game Plus to get a second, were it not for the Sphinx, but we won't be going to her quite yet. Very close to the tomb is Eremitic's Sanctuary. Inside, you'll find a bunch of bandits for easy discipline points, and this warrior enemy who will try to emote on you. Assert dominance and loot the greatsword Ogre's Bane from his corpse. Most enemies will fall easily to your hammer, but creatures like Saurians are highly resistant to blunt damage, which is where this sword will come in. It also deals 50% more damage against ogres, so it'll be our backup weapon in specific circumstances until we get to post-game. You're sure to be ranking up a lot during your slaughter sessions, so pop back into town every now and then and buy skills. Don't worry about any of the augments for now, focus on core skills and the active skills you're most comfortable with. Some recommendations include Heavenward Slash, Ravening Lunge, and Tidal Fury. Contrary to what some of you might think, I'm actually a fighter main, so I find it very uncomfortable playing warrior without Tidal Fury. Parries are simply in my DNA. Once you've handed the Glimmercoal back to Sara, you must rest a few days to progress the quest. Brocker will tell you that Sara went to the mountain base cave on her own. Considering how hostile Batal's map is, I'm incredibly impressed she got there in the first place. I don't actually recommend going there quite yet, instead we'll ferrystone back to Vernworth. Don't forget to activate the Batal Port Crystal, by the way. Back in Vernworth, wait until the morning and head out to the North Gate. Griffins fly on a fixed schedule, so after loitering around outside for a minute or two, you'll hear one approach. Once in combat, wait until the Griffin does a giant roar that shakes the screen. That means it's about to fly back to its nest, so climb atop before he leaves. As you're on its back, make sure you're standing to keep your stamina bar full. But when the camera zooms out, press the grab button because it means he's about to shake you off. Once he's done, you can go back to standing on him. After a few minutes, he'll land at his nest. By now, you'll be plenty strong enough to kill him. There's a port crystal and a couple of fairy stones in his nest, so be sure to pick them up. If you've watched my challenge runs before, you're probably surprised by how long it took me to reach the nest, since I normally come here way earlier, but pathing for a challenge run and an optimized playthrough is very different. Once you're done looting, exit the nest out into Misty Marshes and head north. If you get lost, still keep heading north. We're plenty strong enough now to deal with the zombies and skeletons here, and even the ghosts won't be a problem. When you see this road with the braziers on it, you're on the right track, so walk up until you reach this cluster of houses. Feel free to loot it as much as you please or even rest at the campsite before climbing up this cliffside. You'll pop out into the mountains, so follow the path to the right with the harpies until you reach the Sphinx.
Another dogged adventurer come to take my life.
I'm a cat. Place down your port crystal and I recommend doing her riddles in a specific order. First up is Conviction. Take the ring of recompense you got in Batal and give it to her. Since we can only get one of these per playthrough, we'll use the Sphinx to create a perfect duplicate of it to get a second. Once we reach endgame, these rings will let us make a funny one-shot build. With Conviction complete, I recommend doing Riddle of Eyes next. The Sphinx will send you into this cave, so climb up the path to your right here and grab the sealing vial from the chest over the entrance. Since you're very likely still leveling warrior at this point, it's not a bad idea to continue exploring the rest of the cave, since there's a lot of enemies down here for you to farm discipline. Once you're done, hand the file to the Sphinx to complete the riddle. Now, for the last three, we'll finish them all in one go. The Riddle of Rumination requires you to find where you found your first Seeker's token. If you heeded my advice in the first chapter, you'll find it in this fountain in Vernworth. By making sure we pick up our first Seeker's token somewhere in Vernworth, we can simply teleport back to the city to collect it, instead of wasting time travelling to more distant destinations. While we're here, I take an ox cart to the checkpoint rest town. Once you've arrived, approach the border gates and use your residency permit to pass through legally. Walk down until you find Baron's house, then pick him up before using a fairy stone to teleport back to the Sphinx. Don't forget to pick up the port crystal you left at the Sphinx. This will be the last time you'll be back here. Now I recommend completing the quests in this order. Hand in your finder's token to complete Riddle of Conviction, earning you 3 fairy stones. Next is Riddle of Madness, so use Baron, who you teleported with you, to complete it. What this does is instantly max out the affinity of any NPC you offer up to the Sphinx, although pawns only gain an additional plus 20 affinity. It can even be multiple people if you like. Now, I only recommend people who didn't get the Meister skill from Baron to offer him up to the Sphinx. By using her to max out his affinity, he will finally give you Arc of Might, or at least when you next visit him at his house. If you already got Arc of Might from Baron, then you don't need to do this, and I recommend offering up your favourite merchant to get discounts from them. Each time you finish a riddle, make sure to loot the chest right after and don't save them all for the very end. Finally, we have Riddle of Wisdom. For this, we need to find a pawn that has the name or moniker Sphinx Parent, Sphinx Mother, or Sphinx Father. We then offer them up to her to complete the riddle. Have you noticed a problem? That's right, this is a solo run, so we can't use pawns. It's simply impossible for us to get this one correct. I'm still baffled every time I'm streaming a solo playthrough and someone in chat tells me off for getting this riddle incorrect. It's a solo run, my guy, I don't know what you want from me. Instead of offering up a pawn, pick up Baron or your NPC of choice again and give them up to the Sphinx once more. She will call you a giant fucking idiot and you won't get the reward, but it's only 1,200 Rift Crystals. Very little was lost. Regardless, the first batch of riddles are complete, and the Sphinx gets ready to fly away. Before she does, quickly climb onto her and get comfortable. This flight will be a little long, but after a couple of minutes, she'll finally land at her second shrine. In this chest, you'll find 100,000 gold, so we should be good for money for a little while. You can choose to teleport back to Batal if you wish, but I decided to do some brief exploration right outside the shrine location. This area suffers from non-stop rain, which is great news for our lightning hammer. You can find a chimera close to the shrine, and by killing it, he'll drop an all-heal elixir. There are then 2 minotaurs on either side of the chimera spawn, and they drop a fairy stone each. Along with that, there's some chests around containing good loot too. And with that, I teleport back to Batal. We're now ready to rescue Spyro from the mountain base cave. It's a very long walk from here, but that also makes it great for our discipline gains. In fact, I reached warrior rank 8 just outside the city, which prompted me to turn back and unlock some new skills. Rank 8 is a massive power spike for warrior, since you unlock Tidal Wrath, the upgraded version of Tidal Fury, and the Augment Dominance. This augment boosts your knockdown power by 15%. I doubt I need to explain why this is so powerful. Then, I exit the city once again to go save Spyro. By the time I reached the end of Drabnir's Grotto, I had hit the max rank with Warrior. We've now popped out into the volcanic hinterlands, and start heading towards the mountain base cave where Sarah is. Still have no idea how she got there. You'll find an old dwarf along the path outside Drabnir's Grotto, place a port crystal down, then walk past him for now. These goblins were way more grouped up than usual and traumatically scarred me, but I barely scrape by and take this lower path to the cave. The mountain base cave is very hot, but there's water jugs you can throw at magma slimes to solidify them, or you can use one of the many Freegor spell tomes you can find inside. I recommend clearing out the whole cave just to make the next part easier. Once you find Sarah, you need to quickly run back to the entrance. You can easily keep track of her using the minimap, which I currently have disabled, but even as you run, she will teleport to catch up with you. I often find as I'm near the entrance she gets stuck, so pick her up and drop her outside. If you are fast enough, she'll head back home, but we won't be joining her yet. Instead, I went back inside to do some additional looting, which over-encumbered me. Thankfully, Ravening Lunge doesn't care about my carry weight. I stop off at Volcanic Island Camp. Don't forget to put a port crystal down here too. This merchant opposite the inn sells some decent gear, but what we want is this second Ring of Vehemence. By equipping both, we get an additional 200 knockdown damage. Once I'm done here, I teleport back to the port crystal I left by the old dwarf, and after giving him 3 wildflowers, he invites me to his home. Once he starts complaining about his back pain, offer to escort him to the hot springs in Volcanic Island Camp. Simply pick him up and teleport to the port crystal you left there. Once completed, his wife will give you the Magic Archer Vocation and the Meister skill Spellbow's Paradox. We will actually make use of this vocation later on, so keep that in mind for now. We're done in the hinterlands, so teleport back to Batal to report to Sarah, and she'll give you the restored Regalia sword. You can then hand this back to Roman, completing the quest and unlocking dwarven smithing services at Sarah. The old dwarf you assisted earlier also offers dwarven smithing, but his location is far less convenient. Dwarven smithing is the best enhancement type in the game, as it boosts your strength and magic damage evenly, while greatly increasing the knockdown damage of your weapons. And for armor, it increases your defense and magic defense in the same way, along with knockdown resistance. Every vocation in the game should strive for dwarven smithed armor. Most vocations will also want dwarven smithed weapons, but not all. As a warrior, however, we most certainly want a knockdown bonus, so we'll be going full dwarven on all our equipment. You might be itching to upgrade your equipment right now, but I ask that you hold off until later. It's time we finish grinding the last few augments we need for our build. It's time I went into greater detail about augments, which ones we'll be using and why we're using some and ignoring others. Our current augments are Metal, Apotropasm, Thew, and Dominance. Aside from Dominance, we've been focusing on defensive and utility augments, so why is that? It's simply because every other damage boosting augment in the game is complete garbage. Let me explain. From rank 9 Thief, we get the augment Verve, which boosts our strength by 30%? No, a flat 30. Equipping Verve is like a 3% damage boost. Wow. What about Sagacity from rank 9 Sorcerer? It boosts your magic damage by 30, and we do use enchanted weapons. But yes, it's also a flat 30 increase. Then there's the Polarity Augment from Mystic Spearhand for a bonus to strength during the day and magic at night. It's a 5% bonus. Lethality from Archer increases your damage against weak points. It's also a measly 5%. Aside from Dominance, damage boosting augments suck in Dragon's Dogma 2 and are not worth wasting a precious slot over. So what should we use for our last 2 augment slots instead? At rank 6 in Sorcerer, we get the augment Constancy, which boosts your knockdown resistance by 30%. I doubt I need to explain how strong this is. As our knockdown resistance increases through acquiring better gear and enhancing it with dwarven smithing, this 30% bonus will exponentially increase and will eventually achieve insanely high values. High knockdown resistance even lets you tank scream attacks from Dullahans by combining it with the super armor from your charged attacks. At rank 4 in Magic Archer, we get an augment called Veracity that restores your stamina by 10% for each kill you get. This isn't particularly amazing compared to the other busted augments we've slotted, but it does have its uses. Arc of Might is a skill that drains all your stamina when released, so the Veracity augment can help us recover stamina a bit faster. And in group settings, we won't have any sustain issues at all, saving you from spending stamina curatives when trying to play aggressively. With that, those are all our augment slots filled, but here are a few others that are also quite good as alternatives. Dynamism is unlocked from rank 9 Warfarer, and makes your character move at a speed 1 stage lower of their carry weight. So if your encumbrance level is average, Dynamism will make you run at lightweight speed. This is pretty useful for Warrior and helps keep you nimble. There's also Exaltation from rank 9 Mage, which increases your stamina recovery by 10 points per second. This is a good alternative to Veracity, or you can even pair them together for a high sustain build. Aside from that, however, we'll be focusing on the augments I mentioned earlier, so let's get to ranking up Sorcerer and Magic Archer. The sound of leveling Sorcerer solo doesn't sound very appealing. While it's a very powerful vocation overall, Sorcerer's playstyle leaves it highly vulnerable, especially when you don't have pawns to protect you. That being said, I have done the solo Sorcerer grind in several past playthroughs, so I've more or less got it down to a science by now. Allow me to teach you my ways. Before we swap over, however, there's one last thing we need to do. First, take a cart to Melve and buy Fulminous Shield from the Travelling Merchant. Next, exit Melve and head to a dungeon nearby called Waterfall Cave. It's located where the Griffin crash landed at the beginning of the game. There's also a lot of slimes and saurians here, but your weapons will make quick work of them. In the center area, you'll find a Gore Chimera. It spawns in place of a regular one once you've entered the second half of the main quest. This is a post-game enemy, so it may be a little tough to kill. A silencing spell tome does wonders against it, then it's just a matter of building momentum during the fight and keeping the monster stun locked. Once it's dead, loot a black freakish mane. Whatever you do, don't lose it. We can now head to the main study area and loot the spell tomes, Howling Blizzard and Nation's Death Knell. This also spawns a white, so go ahead and kill it. Now, all that's left is to go to Checkpoint Rest Town, unlock Sorcerer and equip the Courtly set. Go to the scrap shop and duplicate all 3 spell tomes in your possession. This last step is actually optional if you don't intend on getting Meteoron from Trisha. I don't intend on getting it either, I just wanted to showcase this step. Now go to Mirrodin up in his house and he'll ask you for at least 3 spell tomes. Give him the fake spell tomes you duplicated at the scrap shop, and in return, he'll give you the spell Maelstrom. With the 3 real spell tomes you have, you can go find Trisha and do her questline to unlock Meteoron, but it's pretty annoying and not worth it for this playthrough in my opinion, so I'll be skipping it. With Maelstrom, we're now ready to rank up Sorcerer. Teleport to Batal and make sure your 3 main augments are equipped and buy the strongest archstaff you can. I also invested in some strong sorcerer armor that can also be worn by Magic Archer, because we'll be leveling that later. At rank 1, you can get a skill called Thundermine, and I don't suggest it, I am forcing you to use it. All that's left is to find some enemies to get us to rank 6, and my recommended spot is Drabnir's Grotto. You've already walked this way during Sarah's questline, so we're just doing the trip again. The enemy spawns are highly dense and we'll be able to reach rank 6 in no time. After killing the first batch of enemies right outside Back Batal, I'd already hit rank 2, so I went back to the Vocation Guild to purchase the core skill Quick Spell. Now we're ready to farm to rank 6. You can find the tomb of Jar Nua on the way to Drabnir's Grotto. I honestly wish I went here earlier when I was playing warrior, but it slipped my mind. There's a skeleton lord inside, and while we could kill him easily as a warrior, our sorcerer stands little chance against him, so I attempted to sneak around. Emphasis on attempted. That ring we just picked up is the Ring of Recitation. It reduces our cast time by 25% and our maximum health by 20%. Equipping 2 of them halves your cast time, but almost halves your health as well. Even just one of this ring will greatly alleviate the pain of solo grinding Sorcerer. In about 54 minutes, I had reached rank 6 in Sorcerer. I then made my way to the Volcanic Island camp to purchase the Constancy Augment, increasing our knockdown resistance by 30%. Our warrior was going to be incredibly happy owning this augment, but we have one last grind to do. I swapped a magic archer and begin farming the enemies right outside the camp. We only need to reach rank 4, and with such dense enemy spawns, this will take no time at all. In 12 minutes, we hit rank 4 in Magic Archer. The discipline requirements get a lot bigger after rank 4, which is why Sorcerer took so much longer to grind to 6. Then I simply headed to the excavation site and purchased the Veracity Augment for 10% stamina recovery on kill. Now, we've officially finished the Augment grind. I recommend placing a Port Crystal at the excavation site while you're here for post-game. Then we're off to farm equipment. This is a good time to go over what equipment this build will be using for endgame, why, and what materials we need. Alright, here's everything we need. I'm sure this isn't overwhelming at all. Recommend taking a screenshot, by the way. Now when it comes to armor in Dragon's Dogma 2, honestly just use what you think looks coolest. That's what I usually do, but this video is meant to be meta Sweatlord optimal, so I will be using the strongest equipment available, even if it makes my character look like a clown. For weapons, there are 3 we want: Dragon's Bite, Dragon's Flight, and Cyclopean Thunder. Dragon's Bite is the best greatsword in the game, except it's not. It's actually Dragon's Flight, but it can also be Dragon's Bite. They're both good for different reasons. Dragon's Bite has the highest strength and magic stat out of any warrior weapon, but it also has a stupidly overpowered hidden effect. When your health is less than 25%, the weapon deals 300% more damage. Yes, 300%. I remember randoms on Reddit saying that the weapon probably only did like 10% bonus damage and completely underselling it without even bothering to do research. They are stupid. Don't be like them. It's 300%. Do you remember the 2 Rings of Recompense we got earlier and how they deal 100% more damage at 25% less or health? We can equip 2 of these with Dragon's Bite for a 500% bonus. There's just one problem with this. We have to be at low health for these bonuses to apply. So while this setup is the strongest possible warrior build in the game by far, letting you casually one-shot enemies, it is simply not practical for general use. Very few people can comfortably walk around as a warrior with so little health. So while we will grab the components we need to create this build for those who want to try it, we'll also create a second build while we're at it for general gameplay use. This second build will prioritize overwhelming power as well as comfort for the player. This is where the Greatsword Dragon's Flight comes in. While the strength and magic stats are slightly lower than Dragon's Bite, you'll notice it has way higher knockdown power. In addition, it has a hidden effect too, and it boosts the damage you deal against dragons by 50%. This is very strong, even though it's not a crazy 300% boost like Dragon's Bite. This weapon can easily one-shot dragons without having to reduce your health to 25%. And while one-shotting other enemies isn't as consistent, it's still an incredibly strong weapon suited for all scenarios, except slashing resistant enemies, but that's what Cyclopean Thunder is for. Cyclopean Thunder I already went over, but we will be gathering the materials to enhance it, alongside Dragon's Bite and Flight. Now onto armor. As a warrior, we want armor that increases our knockdown resistance. Our attacks are quite slow and getting interrupted is annoying, so armor that prevents this from occurring as much as possible is our top priority. The Argamanium Galea, Sovereign's Plate, and Vanguarder's Greaves give the highest knockdown resistance in the game, so we will focus on these pieces. And finally, for rings, we also went over those too. Ring of Vehemence, Resolution, and Recompense are all you need. Most of the time, you'll be using 2 Vehemence rings for 200 plus knockdown power, and 2 Recompense rings for 200% bonus damage at 25% health. Vehemence is your generalist ring you'll use most of the time, but you may swap to Resolution should you favour knockdown resistance. These are the equipment pieces we're missing, but you'll basically find that all of them are only available in post-game. Instead, what we'll do is farm the materials needed to upgrade these equipment pieces before we enter post-game. so let's get started. That's all the materials acquired, except for Eldrasite, Cursed Dullahan Bones, and Bolt Scales. I'll wait until post-game to farm the first two, but as for Bolt Scales, I was just genuinely unlucky with my drops and lost time thanks to it. Plenty of serpents spawn in post-game, so I'll just farm them there instead of running around to all the different caves. You only need one of each material type, because at the scrap shop, you can just duplicate items in your possession. I spent the next few minutes creating forgeries of all my materials to ensure I had enough to upgrade our future equipment. Once that was done, all we've got left is to wrap up the main questline and enter post-game. My current main quest is Flickering Shadows, so I go to Ambrosius on the coast and he tells me to speak to the Dragon Forge nearby. In his cave are 5 Worm's Life crystals. Using the 10 we got from killing that lesser dragon in Melve, we've got enough to complete a main quest that takes place later on. After speaking to him, I teleport to the port crystal I left outside the Trickster Meister's temple, and she tells me to go to Harve. Already a port crystal there too, so I head off, only to witness the ruins of Grand Sorin emerge from the water. To reach it, we go into Stormwind Cave right nearby and fight our way through until we find Rathias deep inside. He gives us the Godsbane and we explore Grand Sorin Castle for equipment to sell. I then teleport to Batal and give 15 Worm's Life crystals to Ambrosius so he can restore the Godsbane to its full power. A day passes and he returns the Godsbane, which we use to open the sealed door leading to the volcanic hinterlands. As we make our way down the path, Talos awakens and starts heading towards the excavation site. When you're doing a solo playthrough, make sure you don't kill Talos even if you're able to, because if you do, you'll trigger a scripted sequence where your pawn must be summoned to kill 2 of the 4 bosses in post-game. Basically, you'll be prevented from completing the game without summoning a pawn, violating the sanctity of your solo run. Instead, I peacefully make my way towards the excavation site ahead of Talos, and wait about 20 minutes for him to fall into the lava and die. Now, we can head inside and get ready to fight the dragon. Once you're stocked up and ready, head on into Moonglint Tower to confront the dragon. You'll be bombarded by hordes of enemies, but you can skip them by sprinting in the opposite direction. After the fade to black, the dragon appears. It turns out the foul creature has kidnapped our boyfriend Baron, which is completely unacceptable. While flying on the dragon's back, you can actually skip fighting him entirely by using the Godsbane while climbing over his heart. But by killing the dragon ourselves, we can earn 100 Worm's Life crystals to put towards our endgame equipment.
Tell me, Arisen, what is thy desire? Is it to slay the dragon, thereby delivering the world from darkness? Or dost thou merely seek conflict with a mighty foe?
With the dragon slain, we're declared the Sovereign of Vermund, having completed our ultimate task. But by speaking to the Pathfinder during the ceremony, you're taken back to right before your fight with the dragon. Crawl towards its heart and use the Godsbane on yourself. This instantly kills the dragon and takes us into post-game. We're in the final stretch of this playthrough and will soon have the strongest possible warrior build. While in Unmoored World, you only have 10 rests available. Our first stop is the Seafloor Shrine. There are lots of skeletons, but also fairy stones on the path towards it, so feel free to loot and kill to your heart's content. Speak to Rathias once you arrive, and he'll summon the Dragon Forged, in which you can buy the Dragon's Bite Greatsword. If you can't afford it for whatever reason, don't worry about it until later. I then teleported straight to Vernworth, where I purchased the Greatsword Dragon's Flight from the Weapon Merchant. This will be our main weapon from now on. Walk towards the Vernworth docks and you'll find a Dullahan really close by. Wait for him to approach you because this area is much easier to fight on. Dullahards are probably the strongest enemy in the game due to their high aggression and varied moveset. Your best friend is Tidal Wrath to counter its attacks. Since Dullahards attack faster than Warrior, you may find yourself a bit outmatched at first, but you have one secret weapon that no other Vocation can abuse, your Super Armor. Before fighting a Dullahard, equip 1 or 2 Rings of Resolution. If your armor has enough knockdown resistance, you can charge Arc of Might during a Dullahard scream to tank it, then animation cancel with Barge to continue attacking. Thanks to our high knockdown resistance and parries, you'll be able to kill the Dullahard and loot its bones. We need a total of 4 to enhance our equipment, but I only looted 3. Because of the resting limit in Unmoored World, creating forgeries through the scrap shop isn't something we can rely on as much, so we'll have to keep an eye out for more Dullahards. There's actually one nearby, but I decided to ignore it for now and follow the path until I find a Spectre. Hope you've been stocking up on spell times because this enemy does not care about Cyclopean Thunder. Alternatively, you can swap to Magic Archer and farm with that, which I recommend. After eventually killing it, it proceeds to drop completely nothing. I am not mad at all. We need 2 Eldrasite, which this enemy drops. The fact that I got nothing has cost me quite a lot of time, so I hope you have better luck than I do. As we proceed further in and enter the ruins of Blue Moon Tower, we slay the undead and reach our first beacon. This will be the hardest of the unmoored bosses, so let's get him over and done with while we're here. This Purgeoner has a habit of shaking us off. If we've got enough stamina to remain on it, that's fine, but it's a pretty dangerous attack if he manages to make you fall off. Eventually it dies, and it's nice knowing none of the other bosses will be as annoying. After our first victory, I decide to use up my first rest to save my progress. We can also buy the Sovereign's Plate from the Dragon Forge with the crystals we got from killing the bosses. There's 2 more armor pieces we need, Argamanian Galea and Vanguard's Greaves. The Greaves are pretty close to the Seafloor Shrine. As you head south, you'll find a drake that can be lured down from the cliff. By climbing him, you can jump off and land on the upper platform. This platform is completely devoid of enemies and lets you cut through to the opposite side. Then, you can drop down and loot the Greaves. For the Galea, I hope you left a Port Crystal at the checkpoint rest town because I forgot to. This cost me a lot of time walking there. You'll want to find the spot where there was once a series of waterfalls. I went up to the side path hoping to find a way to avoid the Lich, but there was no safe way to get down to the chest without using a wake stone. To get down quickly, I jumped off the broken bridge and used the dead Cyclops to cushion my fall. Thanks to Ravening Lunge, I could quickly get away and climb up until I found a small cave containing the Galea. We now have every piece of equipment we need to create the strongest warrior build. All that's left is to enhance it. While I was collecting those armor pieces, I kept an eye out for Spectres to farm some Eldrasite and also Dullahards for their bones. There are lots of serpents in Unmoored World, so I farmed those too, but it took multiple kills for them to drop just a single bolt scale. I was also forced to farm multiple Spectres because none of them were dropping Eldrasites, which was not great for my spell time supply. I recommend swapping to Magic Archer if you're struggling with this too. I eventually got lucky, but it was still only 1. I'll have to create a forgery at the scrap shop since I need 2 for my upgrades. Since we're near the checkpoint rest town already, I decided to make my way there and give my single Eldrasite to the scrap shop. I then rested at the inn, but my order was still not ready. Passing time in Unmoored World is pretty tricky since rest benches are disabled, so we'll come back for this later. After placing a Port Crystal down, which I should have done before post-game, I teleport to Bakbatal and have Sara Dwarvensmith my Agamanian Galea, Sovereign's Plate, Vanguard's Greaves, Dragon's Bite, and Cyclopean Thunder. I couldn't enhance Dragon's Flight since it requires 2 Eldrasite, which I'm currently in the process of duplicating. I even ran out of gold while enhancing my stuff and was forced to sell some old equipment to cover the cost. The problem with Dwarven Smithing is that it makes all your equipment super heavy, but this will become a non-issue once we Wormforge it all. For now, I speak with Ambrosius. Wait, no, it's not Ambrosius, it's Phallic? What's his? Phases. For now, I speak to Phases to retrieve my pawn. There's a convenient hole nearby to throw her in, then I exit the palace to activate this red beacon. This is a required sequence to beat Unmoored World, but it also gives us some Worm's Life crystals that we can use for worm forging later on. I follow the trail of enemies, skipping past them all before getting violated by some succubi. Once they were all dealt with, we had one last gauntlet to run through, so I used Ravening Lunge at the top of the stairs, and the incline took me to max speed instantly. Then I smashed the vase at the end, which banished all the monsters and gives us our Worm's Life crystals. I teleport back to the Seafloor Shrine and Wormforge everything from earlier except for Dragon's Flight. Our equipment is now a lot stronger and much lighter weight as well. Afterwards, I teleport to Sacred Arbor to kill the Worm Purgeoner. Raising Sweep is an excellent skill against this enemy, and with our high level equipment, it falls easily. With our second Purgeoner defeated, I fast travel back to the checkpoint rest town. The scrap shop still hasn't finished my order, so I decide to use up another rest to skip waiting any longer. We now have our very last material. I ferrystone back to Sarah and she fully dwarvensmiths Dragon's Flight. Then it's one more teleport back to the Dragon Forge, and with that, all our equipment is fully enhanced. Now, our build is at last complete. The only possible way to get stronger from this point on is to level up some more, but base stats contribute far less to your overall stats than good equipment, so it won't be a noticeable difference even if you continue leveling. With your build complete, you can choose to rest at the bed until you run out of days in Unmoored World to enter New Game Plus as quickly as possible, or you can finish off the remaining Purgeoners to farm Worm's Life crystals and have some more fun with your build. All the Purgeoners have been vanquished. You can choose to roam Unmoored World some more, or activate the beacon at the Seafloor Shrine to finish the game. Once I activated the beacon and watched the final cutscene, my total playtime was clocked at 18 hours, and as you can see, I only died once, which was at the beginning of the game. If that zombie with 1 billion damage didn't kill me, this would have been a deathless run and I could have used it as clickbait for the video. Talking about clickbait, I ended up finishing New Game at level 47 and not 50 as the thumbnail depicted, so you have all been masterfully baited. Let's compare this playtime to some of my other runs. My first playthrough of DD2 was around 110 hours long. The challenge run where I beat the game with no equipment was 11.5 hours, and it was 12 hours for the Ring of Derision run. I also did a 100% quest run on a new save which took 32 hours. If you want me to make a 100% quest playthrough guide, let me know because I wrote up a whole spreadsheet for it ages ago. If we were to look at DD1 playthrough times just for fun, my 1-stat challenge was 18 hours. It also included base game and BBI, so I feel like 18 hours to create the strongest warrior build from scratch and also beat the game is honestly not too bad. And I made a lot of mistakes that cost me time, and also I just had a lot of bad luck with enemy drops, so you could definitely finish faster than me if you avoid those mistakes yourself. After beating the game once, there are 2 things of note you could do to improve your build a little further. In New Game Plus, you unlock a mechanic at the Dragon Forge where he can boost the stats you gain per level for a specific vocation. Naturally, you pick warrior and you'll end up reaching the stat cap faster as you level. Most importantly is the ability to halve the stamina cost of a skill of your choice. Arc of Might is excluded from this because of how it functions, so I recommend Ravening Lunge instead. This will let you use the skill for twice as long, which is great for getting around the map quickly. Aside from that, there's nothing else you need to do besides continuously improving as a warrior player skill-wise. With our character finalized, I'll do a quick showcase of both the standard and low health variants of this build, then wrap up the video. And with that, The solo warrior guide is complete. If this video taught you something that you may want to implement in your own playthroughs, then it's served its purpose. This channel is approaching 100k subs, which is really cool, so thank you all for the support, and I'll see you whenever.